So Aaliyah, Rachel, and Britt, thank you so much for saying yes and leaning into joining our Community Night Roundtable tonight, which is all about conquering your fears around finance and becoming a confident business owner. Now, each of you have been selected to be highlighted tonight because you have exhibited incredible success, not only financially, but with your business overall. And before we get started with the questions that I've gathered for you, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves, let us know where you are and a little bit of your background so that we know and can maybe see ourselves in you. Let's start with Britt, since I see her face first.
Hey everyone, I'm Britt Reno. I have been a hairdresser for almost 11 years in November. I started out in Maryland, and most people that know me know that I am education obsessed. So that obsession kind of took me around the country. I assisted in Los Angeles and ended up deciding to go back to Tennessee, where my mom's side is from, to be closer to family. And moving to Tennessee is what started my journey as a booth renter and me getting obsessed with the business side of things. So moving to Tennessee was probably the best thing for me because it brought me here for this evening. So that's pretty much me, and everybody knows that I'm into punk and I'm very goofy. So if I seem a little goofy tonight, that's just how I am. I'm the hyper one in the salon. So everybody's like, go chill with her if you're feeling down.
And that's one of my favorite reasons why you're a part of our community, Britt, because I feel like a lot of us can relate to that, but maybe it's not always seen. And to this day, one of my favorite things you've ever contributed to our community is your question around, do you think that it would make sense if I shared with people that I have more time to play Nintendo because of GlossGenius? And that just...
I think I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, I have more free time now thanks to Gloss, so people need to hear this.
Yes. The inner nerd in all of us can relate.
Yes.
Thank you, Britt. It's so nice that you're here. And
Thank you.
I want to talk about your podcast later on because I know that that's the way that we were introduced to you initially. So let's go ahead to Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Moen. I have my own facial business, Facials with Rachel, in Minnesota, in Maplewood, Minnesota. And I started using GlossGenius when I opened that in August 2020. So right in the middle of the pandemic. And I just am so thankful someone shared GlossGenius with me that's what their hairstylist used. And I just hit the ground running with it. So here I am a year and a half later, and now I actually just bought a full salon barber shop where I have a lash extension, barber, hair stations, and then my own little facial area. So I'm super excited about that. And I don't know if I could be here without my app. It's just so helpful, and I just love it. And I talk about it every single day, and my clients love it, and I just can't get enough. And it's so cute.
Love that, Rachel. And you actually are not the only esthetician on the call tonight. Next, we have Aaliyah. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah. I am an advanced esthetician here in Ohio. I have been licensed for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years here in July. I started off doing this because I just really enjoyed skincare, and I was making skincare at home in my kitchen. So I actually never wanted to be an esthetician. I really just wanted to have some type of license for something so that I can make my skincare. And I don't know, now I specialize in body sugaring, which is a little bit different than waxing, but same result. And then I also specialize in acne and hyperpigmentation. My business is 2 years old this month, and I actually started my business. I never worked for anyone. I went right into this doing booth rent with no clientele. And maybe 2 weeks after I opened my business, the state of Ohio shut down. And then maybe a week after that, my dad died. So I kind of really thought that was it. I thought I had a 3-week career and I was going to be done as an esthetician. So it's really exciting to be here tonight because I never expected myself, here 2 years later to be this far and to be on this call with you guys and to be chosen to do this for this reason. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and congrats to both you and Rachel for opening your salons. That's no small feat. And I know that in the last 2 years, on top of everything, I'm very sorry for your loss. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us tonight. This is definitely our safe space. And it means a lot that you share that with us. And I hope that you feel the support from the entire community and all the hearts that are being thrown at you right now.
I do. Thank you.
So with Rachel, I do want to get back into the amazing growth that you've had with your salon, but we'll hop in there in just a second. I just want to reiterate for those who have just joined that tonight we're going to be talking about conquering your finance fears and becoming a confident business owner. And our goal is for you to be inspired by what Britt, Rachel, and Aaliyah have experienced, and maybe you'll have an opportunity to see yourself in them and maybe be inspired on some concrete ways that you could get started. There's no time like the present, and really what we know is that time is now, and there's nobody pushing you out the door. You've got to drive yourself. So I'm really excited to help get that conversation going. So let's talk about where you've kind of been in terms of financial organizing and how you've kept your salon in check. We learned about sort of your early days a second ago, and feel free throughout all these questions to popcorn in or, round robin, whatever's comfortable for you. Question 1, what have been the milestones throughout your journey to getting organized with your salon finances? And how did prioritizing this help you feel more confident as a business owner?
Well, tax season, that's been a milestone. Having no time but the present to make sure that, you have everything in order when you finally have to, but knowing that it's been there all along the way. And earlier when just us girls were talking, I was sharing just how easy it is to, print out a report straight from my phone to my printer here at home. And, doing that, whether that works best for you daily or weekly or monthly, just getting, having those times throughout the year. Maybe it's the end of the year, maybe it's every 6 months, but at least knowing that you can go back and look at reports. I think that's really helped me get organized, and getting organized like that creates the goals to have future growth and numbers. And I think seeing it and then believing in it, that you get to see, wow. I know, Aaliyah, you said you sometimes go back. Is that right? So that's been fun.
I think for me, the biggest thing was quitting my job. I worked at the bank for 3 years while I was doing this, and I just left the bank last August. And the biggest thing for me was going from having a set pay, even though that was what I lived off of pretty much. And then what I was making at the salon was really good, but it was extra. So once I left the bank, I actually realized how unorganized I was when it came to my finances, when I didn't have someone paying me and I didn't have someone already taking out my taxes and setting certain priorities and things for me like that. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. And that's what helped me with getting organized and actually looking into, I always looked at the analytics and everything, but that's what helped me to actually look into everything and kind of comb through this app and to see how this stuff can kind of help me to get things in order, because I don't have someone else doing it for me. And it's I don't have anything else to fall back on right now. So if I'm not doing it and I got to a point where I was seeing a decline in my business, and it was because I wasn't organized as I needed to be or as I thought I was. So it got to a point where I was just really stressed for a little bit there. I have a son, I don't have anything to fall back on. So I kind of have no choice but to do this or to kind of just fail, really. And in that moment, I kind of got really organized and just combed through the app and saw how everything could really help me. more than I actually knew. And that was the biggest thing for me.
I think for me, it's the same as Aaliyah. I don't really have a whole lot to fall back on. This is what I've always loved doing, and moving here to Tennessee, booth rent is king. So getting thrown into booth renting, I had no idea what I was doing. I took terrible advice of, oh, you just need to make rent on day one, day two, make your color money, like very bad advice. Um, Basically, if my husband hadn't helped me with a month of booth rent, I would have lost everything. So I was like, enough is enough. I need to get it together. I don't want people handing me things. I need to do this. So I found GlossGenius, and when I started tracking my numbers, going, oh, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to be analyzing. And even taking a small business class really helped, because I was like, I'm not charging the correct prices I need to be charging. And within the last 2 years, I've like skyrocketed in the money that I'm making. My clientele has skyrocketed. And I can confidently say that GlossGenius has helped so much with that. And that's why I advocate so much for people to use programs like this, because Square doesn't do those things for us. Writing things on paper doesn't do these things for us. Like Gloss helps us reach our goals. So Gloss really helped my booth renting journey.
Wow. Thank you so much, each of you, for sharing your journey with us. I mean, I think Barbette has just said it yet right now. It's amen. I think that that's saying it best. Honestly, you must have skinned your knees at some point on another, experience, and may have realized, oh, I really got to get my stuff together. I really love how you said that, Britt. And I think having those learnings are so important and so crucial to finding success later. And it seems like you each have done the groundwork to, okay, I know where I need to go, and I know what it's going to take to get there. And I think, Aaliyah, you said it best, like believing in it in order to, and like seeing it and believing it based on the results is a whole different ball game in terms of keeping goals and actually fulfilling them. Would you say?
Me?
Oh, yeah, anybody. I mean, I think
no, I'm sorry.
yeah, I think it's about, really projecting that growth and being able to see it real time is pretty impactful.
Yeah, it is. It really is. As I was telling the girls, like I always kind of just look at my numbers. Some months I look at them and I'm like, let me recalculate this. And I'm recalculating like 3-4 times. And I'm like, did I calculate something wrong? Or like, did I really do this? So like actually seeing it, it's like I know I did well. But then when I see it, I'm like, oh, I did really well.
My favorite email is, see how your past week stacked up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think everybody else can agree. I'll check it in the middle of the night or get up to go check that.
Yeah, I love that. Because a lot of times I also think I think we're really hard on ourselves sometimes when we're in this. And it's nice to actually see something tell you like, no, you did do well. A lot of times I'll go, I didn't do good this last week, or I didn't do good this last month or this quarter. And then when I go back and look at it and I'm like, I don't even remember doing that well. So right. It's kind of helpful when you're hard on yourself for things like that.
Yes.
Well, how can you remember all of that? Your brain can't possibly remember every total, every client note, every number that you're on the box that you're filling out. So having something to help you remember that makes it a lot easier.
And I think it's actually a good thing for me, because I think I'm seeing a switch as far as I started off me being mostly body waxing. But obviously facials and home care kind of bring home more money. So now I'm seeing a switch in. I just feel like I'm not doing as well because I'm not slaving as hard over clients and I'm not there from morning to night. I'm seeing the same results with working less.
Yes.
And for me, that is a really good thing. So
work smarter, not harder. Love it.
Yes. And it's weird getting to that, because I'm like, oh, I'm working less, but we're okay. I'm not struggling. So it's sometimes you are hard on yourself and like, I need to work hard every day. And then it's like, wait, no, you don't. And even with my coworker today, she's one of the hardest working estheticians I know. You guys would love her. But we've all been yelling at her, like, please take a day off. And she's finally like, oh, okay, I can take a day off. And we're like, yes, honey.
Where do you think that sense of being really hard on yourself comes from?
Definitely my family, where the majority of us are Slavic people. So it's you work from sunup to sundown. My dad was a mechanic. If he didn't work, there wasn't going to be food on the table. My grandmother worked at the auto shop with him. So it was, you better work or you're going to starve. So
I would definitely say the same with me. My family is Jamaican, and I mean, up until August, I had 3 jobs and a child, and I mean, I will just go and go and go, and that's just what I always see. That's what I've always seen, and that's what I've always been told. Um, and that I was raised by someone who was, in the war, and so his work ethic was just like, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work. So I feel like when I'm not working day in and day out, and when I'm taking a day off, it's like, okay, you haven't worked. So now I've graduated myself from working 7 days a week to I get one guaranteed day off. And even sometimes I'm like, I should work that day. And I'm like, no, you should not work that day. So kind of just like unlearning just what you've seen growing up is, I think, a big thing.
I can relate to both of your statements 100%. I definitely, my parents, my grandparents, and I think the ultimate, facing your fear of being stuck and working for someone else and just believing that our career paths can create our own income, and hopefully that can turn into generational. And for me, I know taking over a salon, seeing that this person who was passing it down to me had children my age, and those children don't want to take over the salon. I don't know that my future kids want the salon, but being able to realize that a salon can be a generational producing not just wealth for me, for like money, but for me, it's my freedom and my time to be able to have with my parents who are still working, who are so much older, and that they've been doing that for so long. So I think that's the best part about, being your own boss, is creating that.
Love that. I think keyword being freedom. And as entrepreneurs, I'm sure that is maybe the last thing on your mind when you're just starting out. You're just trying to get off the ground, but it's really nice when you make that transition of working for yourself and being able to carve out those goals. That's amazing. Thank you. We're kind of going to hit on that as well, because this question is, when it comes to having an easy to understand numbers experience, what were you looking for, and how does GlossGenius differ from your previous method? We kind of touched on that a second ago, but if anybody would love to add on that, I'd love to hear from you.
Definitely the analytics really help, because I can see my service percentages. I'm looking at it right now, actually. My retail percentage, gratuity, how much I've earned in the year, what my average ticket is. And for me, average ticket is a little bit different because I'm kind of like a tattooer. I do by the session. I do packaging now. It's just easier. I hate doing you got to pay for this, this, and this. It drives my clients nuts, but it still shows me what I'm averaging for the day and the week. And I'm a Paul Mitchell child, so I'm really big on client retention, my top 10 clients.
Yes.
And that's all in the reports. And most other programs don't do that.
For me, GlossGenius was actually the first booking site that I have ever used. So the only experience that I've had other than GlossGenius is StyleSeat. I kind of, maybe almost a year ago now, I kind of wanted to just see what the difference was. So while I was using GlossGenius, I signed up for StyleSeat, and I hated it. I really did. I didn't like anything about it. All the numbers were really confusing. It took me way too long to figure out what I was looking at. I don't think that I actually ever figured out what I was looking at. And then I actually got kicked off of the app for not using it. So, but with GlossGenius, when I look at too much, when it comes to numbers, if I look at too much, I get overwhelmed. I'm that person, if the menu's too big at a restaurant, I can't even order. So when I look at the numbers on GlossGenius, just the simple chart and the simple breakdown is really what kind of helps me to even be able to see what I'm doing, because I'll get frustrated and close everything. So I think that for me, my experience.
For myself, I think I mentioned I was working somewhere where it was like paper. She had paper books, and that's how she'd been running the business for so long. And so then when it comes down to me getting commission, I didn't know there was no printouts, no graph, she never showed me her computer on how she kept track. So I just never knew, unless I was combing through that, how to stay on track. And then before that, I worked at an Ulta, and there is something that I've like held on to was their like Path to Abundance guide, but it wasn't always exactly personal. There were just, like if you save this much a month kind of graphs, or if your service ticket, if your average service ticket was $20 more, what that could look like if you were doing 20 more services or 100 more services with $20, so I've always liked graphs and charts and things like that, but having it right in the app to like look at. And I think just taking time to not only look at it every day, but to print that out and organize it so that you can see it and like touch physical papers, to look back and see if that top 10 guest changed, or and to just like a personal little route, like, oh yes, she's still number one, that's also awesome. But I recall the booking app, maybe Orchid, that the salon I worked at used. Only the people that were the receptionists could use the features. So even though I was an employee and I would have to like ask to see my charts and numbers. And that was just really weird to me. But like working for Ulta, they printed out everything every month. And so I love that GlossGenius reminds me of how much better it is in those ways. And then also how, someone else was kind of helping me do that before, but now I get to be in control myself. So having those kind of ground rules with yourself and making yourself stay on top of it, even though it's already right there, there's still more you can do with yourself to kind of stay on track.
Wow. The three of you could rule the world. I just got to say. You ever heard of the three wise women? I want to respond to that, but first I have some better responses that are coming straight from the chat. I just want to read them out. One's from Courtney. I've been trained to double book all day, but I feel like everyone is transitioning from one-to-one with the client, and then I feel like I'm not working as hard and losing money by doing that. If you have a response to that, I would love to hear. If not, I'd love to read Barbette's. Does anyone want to respond to Courtney?
So with double booking, I have always straight up refused to double book. My ADHD self cannot handle it. And now that I'm getting older, my body is breaking. So I'm like the mini Henry Rollins in the salon. I power lift, I take care of myself. And I tell my clients we're doing one-on-one, and they absolutely love it because I can be more bougie with them. I can have more of a conversation with them. Right now, where I upped my prices last year, I now do eye patch treatments. I do a longer scalp massage. I do a hot towel with them. Like, they get the whole luxurious treatment. And I'm in a small town, and I'm charging more than most people in my area, and my prices are going up again in October. And in the last 2 price raises, I haven't lost a single client. So don't be scared to not double book, because you actually will make more money. You'll save your body. And there are some clients that if you go through your numbers, unfortunately it is a business, and you'll be like, I don't make enough money off of this client, so I need to cut these services. And you'll really see a change, because I've watched people who double book and they don't make as much as I do. So please raise your prices and stop breaking your bodies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine. Personally, I mean, I don't think that I offer anything that I can double book. I do a lot of Brazilians. But I don't like my clients to even see each other. The way I put time in between all of my appointments now, so that when I'm finished with one, there's not someone else here. I really feel like it is overwhelming, especially when you have those busier days. You definitely need a second in between, whether you're gonna clean or just sit down or do whatever with it. I definitely believe that, I don't know, double booking is becoming a thing in the past, and I think it's becoming that way for a reason. I mean, even when I get my hair done, my stylist double books, and I don't mind it to an extent, but I feel like sometimes it's like, I don't know when I'm going to get out of there. I don't know how the day is going to go, and that kind of affects me as a client too. If I go get my hair done and I want to be done by a certain time, but I really already know I'm not sure I'm going to be done by that time because I know she's going to have several other people in there. It affects me as a client, which affects the rest of my life as well. It affects my work. It affects my home life. So,
I mean, preach. I think that the overall sentiment that I'm hearing and seeing in the chat and what I'm hearing from each of you is that you shouldn't be breaking your body and you shouldn't be overextending yourself, because that's going to lessen the quality of your performance as a professional, as well as lessen the quality of your work experience. And I thought the whole point of this was to work for yourself and be happy and be free. So I think that that's a really, really strong piece of advice, and it sounds like it's inspiring a couple people below. Something else I wanted to add. First, thank you for answering that. That was really helpful. Barbette says, I love that you ladies are changing the mindset of working smarter, not harder. As a seasoned / older stylist, my prayer for stylists, especially with children, is to create that work-life balance and your work numbers around the days you choose to work. So it sounds like the three of you really have your stuff together and have created those boundaries. Would you say?
Yeah, I'm really big on boundaries.
I would say I've done a lot better with that this year. That's one thing that I really don't do well with, is boundaries. Like I said, I like to work. And when it's always been, when it comes to work, I'm going to go. Regardless of what I'm doing, when it comes to work, I'm going to go. So my child, he's 11 now, but I'd say maybe like the first 9 years of his life, I was working. And he's always been super understanding of that. But now I feel really bad that I did work so much. So now I see like it's really important, to have my work-life balance. I see that, he's always been like understanding when I go to work, but now that I'm working less, when I do have to go to work, sometimes he'll express, well, I don't want you to go to work. And I'm understanding like those are things that he's always felt, and just never said. And so now I see that it is important for him too, for me to not always be at work, even if right now we're just in the house and we may not speak to each other for like 3 hours, but he just likes having me here. And so I feel like that's a big thing that I've been working on within like maybe like the past 6 months, is my boundaries, my keeping my day off, keeping my times off, saying no to coming in. I mean, last weekend I decided not to go to work and do something with family, and that's always been a really big thing of mine. And I mentioned my dad died, and my dad actually, the day he died, I saw him that day, and I got off of work maybe like 5 hours early, and it was really random for me to have got off that early, but they let me off, and then I tried to go work somewhere else, and I really just could not get any work that day. So I went to see my dad, and he seemed fine, and he ended up dying that day. But I hadn't seen my dad for like, I don't think I had seen my dad for like 2 months before that, because I was working. So for me, it's now something that's really important to have the boundary between work and home and keep it.
I agree too. That's for me. I just this last year being able to go to my cabin, I probably went like 6 times, and in the past like 10 years, being an esthetician, asking for different weekends off or Saturdays off, I was barely able to go up there for like one night in a row sometimes. And I'd hardly made it there like twice in a year. And it's such a special place and such a special part of my free time and my life and my family that I'm just so thankful I'm not having to ask someone permission now. And I guess, as your own boss, you're not getting a paid vacation day. But if you use your app and use your numbers and work a little harder and smarter a couple weeks ahead of time, maybe you did pay for that whole day off, or 3 or 5 or 6 days off ahead of time because you sold some goals and numbers. So I think that's the best part. You can.
Excellent advice, Rachel. I want to circle back to Aaliyah. Thank you for sharing that again. And I'm astounded by this story. And I'm a person that kind of believes everything happens for a reason, and why you kind of went there that day. But I think maybe the reason could be that you learned that really important lesson. So it's incredible that you've not only been able to recognize that, but make those changes live. And I'm actually really happy and grateful that you said, I'm kind of working on it. I haven't quite mastered it yet. And I think that is more important than the outcome sometimes. It's that journey. I can personally relate. I know a bunch of people on this call can too. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that, especially that you're in the in-between. We all are. And I'm excited to check back in with you in a few months and see how that's been going for you. Rachel, thank you for sharing that. I think first, thanks for always bringing it back to Gigi. and you do a great job as an ambassador. But I would love to learn a little bit deeper into how those features work out actually, like not just in theory, but how they personally work for your businesses. Let me scooch on over to the next question, and then I'll hop back in the chat in a few minutes. How did the decision to use GlossGenius payment processing, so whether you're using the Chief Money machine, which I believe all three of you are, and how did that help you break down that mental barrier and keep track of your business and analytics?
I think for me, I was getting so irritated with Square, where it was like, oh, you want to deposit your money tonight? Give us more money. Oh, you want to do this? Give us more money. And I was just like, oh my God. So picking Gloss has made that so much easier, because even right down to seeing the processing fees, I'm understanding where is my money going. And even like, I know it's going to sound really silly, but busting out my little Chief Money Making machine, people are like, oh, this is cute. So it's all those little details for me. So it helps me be mindful of, I need to pay attention to my money. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. And when I was using Square or even doing paper, I wasn't being mindful at all. And GlossGenius kind of forces me to be mindful.
For me, I wasn't using any other app. So I just feel thankful and so fortunate that this was my first rendezvous, so I'm thankful for that, diving into it. But I actually, what my favorite thing is, I love the Chief Money machine, but what I love more is that not even necessarily needing it, because I, already have their last 4 numbers stored in my phone. So I think just this week, like 3 people forgot their card. And so what would you do? What do you do? Let me hold your shoe while you go get what? And so I was like, oh, well, is this does this look like the right card you use? This is what she used last time. And then I just bust out my little S Pen on my phone and then let them sign right there. So it's just so crazy that you literally don't even need anything to check them out. It just takes so much less time. But because it's so simple and easy, I do try to make sure to get my product sales and talk about products before it gets to that point, or all of a sudden you're checking them out and then I have to go back and add them in as a consultation to check them out under really quick. But that's fine. But so I guess that's helped me mentally just know that I'm keeping track of everything. Otherwise, I feel like I just wouldn't do good. If I had to write stuff down and try to do paperwork, books, bookkeeping. My grandma used to do that back in the 40s, and I'm sure she was amazing at it for the Girl Scouts, but I just didn't get those genes. So I'm so thankful for a modern day app.
Yes.
For me, I would say that it really just gave me peace of mind. I think we are in like an era where paying without cash is such a big thing that there's Venmo, there's Cash App, there's Apple Pay. And I think just being able to have it all in one place and just being able to be like, okay, you have a card on file, or we can put a card on file. If you want to use Cash App, you can actually use your Cash App card, but I don't I don't accept Cash App. Or if you want to use Venmo, you can use your Venmo card, but I don't have to take all the different payment processing, I don't have to worry about looking here for this and looking there for that. It's all right here. And for me, that makes everything so much less stressful. I don't have to keep track of how you paid last time. If you paid last time, if this is going to go through, especially with Cash App being really big on scams and things like that. I think it just kind of helped me keep everything all together and just not have to worry about all the third party, especially now I guess there's a thing going on where, now this year, if you get or give more than a certain amount on Apple Pay and things like that, it's like, okay, now it's going to be added to your taxes and things. I don't even have to worry about that. It does. I saw that and it doesn't even stress me out. And it's, my social media has been in a big uproar about that. And I'm like, I don't even worry about that kind of stuff because it's already right here. It's on my app. I can look at my reports. I can look here or there or whatever and not even have to worry about it.
Great mention. I feel like the keywords that I'm hearing, which you may not like actually be catching, but everyone's talking about this sense of no stress, sense of confidence. And I think tonight's chat is really about how do you gain confidence in knowing your worth and knowing that you can raise your prices or, ask for the last 4 digits of their credit card so that they can have an ease of experience. I also wanted to mention, Rachel, you were talking earlier about what that sort of potentially awkward conversation could be like. Do you mind diving a little bit deeper into how that dialogue goes? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
For the product part or for like the card part, what are you saying?
Either one, like when someone's forgotten their card or you don't have like a dowry to trade, something.
That's what I guess I was most worried about. Just diving into having an app where I there is the feature. I've had it so long now. I don't. You can have it so you don't have to put a credit card on file, right? Right. So, I mean, I absolutely do that. And for anybody that doesn't, if you're nervous about it, I guess that's why I'm here. Just don't be. No one has complained. There has been like 3 who didn't show up and then their card didn't go through. But guess what? Then you can ban them and don't feel bad because, and the other day, there's no hard feelings. Policies are not personal for, ourselves and clients for our business. But someone has no-showed me 3 times this year and I'm just nice. And now they are playing with my time. And so they often come in and I know that they pay in cash typically. And, that's fine. But you showed up 20 minutes late for a 30-minute appointment. Like that's just disrespectful. But then no-showed the other day. Well, they do have a card on file, even though they pay in cash. And so I didn't hesitate this day. I just went and pressed it. They haven't said anything to me, but they didn't respond to their text. And so I haven't banned them yet because I think it's maybe I can help them change their personal, maybe not. But I'm not going to have them wasting my time anymore. So I feel so confident knowing that I changed it to 50% for no-show fee. I know a lot of you guys have balls out there and probably have 100. Britt, I feel like that's you. I feel like you have 100%. Don't show up, don't play with me. But I'm getting there. So yeah, I know I'm in the process, of learning, but
It's okay. Start at
If
35% and then move your way up.
I went
Like,
25 to 50 easily because I was like $12. No, I don't get no.
I think that was a big thing with me making me go. I was at 50 and I went to 100 because
Okay.
when I would get no call, no showed, I'd be like, this 50% does not make me happy. Like my time was wasted. I'm still
right.
upset. Like this 50% was not enough. And I even like to add on to what Rachel was saying, as far as like the card on file, I started off to where they don't have to have a card on file, and I trusted people, and it just wasn't the right thing to do. And I moved it to where you have to have a card on file when you book just the first time, and that still wasn't it. So now I have it as you have to put a card on file every time you book. And I've noticed that I don't get no call, no shows anymore, because the people who don't take me seriously don't want a card on file. And as soon as they see that card on file, they kind of just stop there. I'll have some people inbox me and I'll send them right back to the app. This is where I can help with all your questions. But you
Yep.
go back and you book here. I'll send you the link, but you have to book here. So then I've also noticed that I have some clients who I have some clients who do a lot of rescheduling, or do a lot of canceling, rescheduling, cancel, reschedule, or just last minute things. So then I find with those clients, when you have to put your card on file every time, I may have a client whose card was good last month, but then this month it might not be good. You have clients who lose debit cards like that. So when you make them put their card on file every time, they're going to have to always update what they have, because what they had last month may not work. Unfortunately, I started off trusting my clients, and it's just, you can't do it. I mean, there's no nice way to say it, but you just can't do it. And it sucks because you want to have that relationship with them, but sometimes they don't want to have that relationship with you. So
You live and you learn.
yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a great opportunity for me to read some of the amazing questions and comments in the chat. Going back up, Courtney also wanted to mention that she feels like her body is killing her now and that she needs to raise their prices. That's, I think, the next question. We'll talk about that in a second, because I want everyone on this call to walk away knowing that they are worthy and that they can and should do this and that we can help you. But Courtney also mentioned, or Jessica agrees, Yanni says, you'll have a better chance to retain the client with one-on-one appointments. We totally agree with that. Gina also asked a question about raising prices. We'll get there in a second. Courtney says that she works with a personal assistant who blow dries, so we never run behind, but I'm not ready to double book. And then Jessica mentioned that boundaries with kiddos are at home, and the clients appreciate it when you take the time to explain why it's important that work hours are work hours, home hours are home hours, and they'll respect you more. I think that that's totally echoing what you said. And for those on the call, we actually just added a couple links in the chat. One is the How to Raise Your Salon Prices guide, which is totally comprehensive, helps you start from step one on. And we also have a quiz that can help you figure out what those variables should be and where you should make those changes. So if you haven't tried that out yet, definitely check it out. But the next question is, what is your advice for those who are struggling to stay confident when raising their prices and not being afraid to break that taboo? Because what I'm hearing is that there's a sense of awkwardness, vulnerability, worry, fear when it comes to raising your prices. How do we break that mold? Because I think you all have done that at some point or needed to do that. How did you do it?
I'm definitely going to highly recommend taking those quizzes, but what has helped me is a business coach, and there are affordable ones out there. I'm a huge fan of Nina Kovner. She's $45 a month. Her background is Paul Mitchell. She's a goddess. Her and I go way back. She helps you confidently raise prices and figure out how to properly do them so that you're not just going based off of who's charging what up the street. And for all my small town people here, Casey Taylor, the small town stylist, she's got you, and she has this wonderful Excel spreadsheet that you just pump all your numbers into, and it tells you exactly what you need to charge. And her and I are both pro living wage, even in a small town. Trust me, you can do it. None of my clients have left me with all my price raises.
I would say the first thing to remember is that you are not going to be the service provider for everyone, and everyone is not going to be the client for you. And I think once you kind of get that in your head and you're okay with that, then it makes it a lot easier to stick, to be able to advocate for yourself. Because I mean, I personally, I haven't lost any clients that I'm aware of from my prices, raising. But I got to a point when I raised them, not going to say that I didn't care, because I do care about my clients, but I got to a point where it was more important for me to do what was best for me than for me to look out for my clients. So, I mean, I raised them and it was reasonable, but my clients kind of understood. I give them the service. It was worth it for them. And I think the biggest thing was, once I got in my head, is that anybody who is going to leave me due to a price range, I probably just am not the service provider for them. And it's okay to not be the service provider for everyone. And I've kind of just, as I've been weeding out, I'd say maybe since, again, the last 6 months, I've really been weeding out the kind of clients that I don't necessarily feel bring me peace anyways. And a lot of those things come with my price raises and my policy changes. And once I came to the fact, with the fact that it's okay, it brings in clients who are willing to respect your prices and things like that.
I'm learning just from you guys to just be more confident. I've been saying that April was the month I was going to go through everyone loves how my app looks. They tell me when they come in and they say that they think I have all the services I need on there. But when I've been talking with my Dermalogica rep, that's one thing I've been talking to her about kind of as a coach or mentor, was making sure that my prices, I'm knowing what I'm spending on things, but they have, their own programs. I'm sure Paul Mitchell, or put your own other brand in, what it costs per service for what you're doing. And when you sit down and take the time to look at those numbers, that's going to help you be more confident and not struggle to be sure that your prices are what they need to be. Because I'm not going to be paying to do your facial. I know that much. Or I'm not going to be, I especially notice when I go to do makeup, I'm almost always buying something for facials. I'll have what I need for the month, and and hair, maybe you change because someone wants to do teal and purple today and you didn't have that. But for makeup, I feel like I'm just grabbing something every morning or the night before. I'm always getting one more thing, and sometimes I feel like, am I charging enough for that? And I know I need to change my prices there because they've been the same for years, but then I've changed the prices somewhere, but in the right spots. I think it's okay to do. But I'm definitely that's one thing I'm excited to take away from tonight, is being a little bit more confident in doing that. But it all comes back to the knowing your numbers and being confident and just trying, and you won't fail.
So one thing I always say when it comes to the confidence of my business is pretty much just fake it until you make it. Nobody else knows how you feel about something unless you voice it. So once you decide to make a decision for your business, when you make that decision, stand on it, and stand on it confidently, even if you're not confident. I just made a decision for my business. I started in January, said that I wasn't doing any more sales. And I did a small birthday sale last weekend because 30 was a big birthday for me. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have. So my first actual holiday came up. And I was really nervous, but I just acted like I was okay. I acted like I knew everything was going to be fine. And I really had no idea how people were going to react. Valentine's Day came up. And like I said, probably like 85% of my business. And it's kind of moving more into facials, but I specialize in Brazilians. And no one else around me sugars. So Valentine's Day came up and I did not offer a sale. And everyone around me, all the other waxers around me, were doing $40 Brazilians, $35 Brazilians, and I did not budge. I did not offer any sales. And I was really nervous about how that was going to go for me. And it didn't. It just went as normal for me. If anything, I probably made more that week with referrals and everything like that than I expected to. So, but like I said, I really just faked that. People were telling me like, I'm surprised you don't have any sales. And I'm just like, oh, no, I don't. And at first I was really nervous, and I'm still nervous about how the years are going to go with me not doing any sales, but
it's going to go better.
It's been going better. I feel like I cleaned out the people who actually want to come, and the people who are going to be regulars, and the people who, I'm going to want to bust my behind for, and be away from my son for. And it's weaned out all those people. And like I said, I just fake it till I make it. I'm faking it right now on this call.
No.
Same. I have been.
Oh my God.
So the entire time.
The confidence.
Listen, let me squash all that. First of all, what I was going to say 30 seconds ago was that I feel like I'm in therapy, and like this is a free therapy session for all of us here, and that I love, because what we're doing is we're debunking and we're letting go of shame. And we're also diving deeper into that vulnerability. Yes, I am listening to Brene Brown on the weekends. And I think that what you have each touched on is something really, really important, which is understanding that there's that goal right in front of you, and you need to take that leap forward for your goals to be accomplished and to achieve that. And if you don't take that step, it's not going to happen. So what are some ways, actually, let me go hop in the chat because I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I think that there's a couple conversations happening, which I love, so I don't need to actually pull that in. As far as the questions around deposits and any other features, we have a lot of stuff on the horizon, a lot of key features that are going to be rolled out. I can't say too much in terms of details, only because I don't want to overpromise, but look out for that happening. Our ambassadors will know that first. Just want to reassure you on that. I love what Yanni said. I raised my prices, but I had more clients telling me I was too cheap for my services and knowledge. I saw a meme that said, "You tell me my prices are too high, but I have clients willing to pay more." That's, I think, totally true.
Yeah.
And by the way, happy belated birthday, Aaliyah.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So let's hop on to number 5. I know that we're just getting up to about an hour on the call, and I'm really grateful, but I think that we're right in like the pinnacle of our conversation. So I just want to finish this out. When it comes to tracking goals and organizing your finances, and believe me, I know I've heard you talk about the different features all throughout this evening, but specifically if someone hasn't switched over to using GlossGenius for their payments, what are some of the in-app features that easily help you feel more confident to grow your business?
So I know this one might sound silly, but hear me out, is the most valuable clients. That is my number 2. And that is because you need to look at the pool of clients that you already have, treat them well. Usually I do little VIP bags throughout the year. I do blow dry specials that are only offered to clientele, and that's where you really grow your money from. And every Christmas, my top 10 get a bigger gift from me. Like I'll give them a full size Colton King product and like locally made things, and then everybody else gets little stocking stuffers. And then my other huge one that everybody probably sees me constantly blowing up about on social media is expenses, because I need to see where I'm hemorrhaging money, where can I buy in bulk, and where do I need to do like monthly orders. And that keeps me from blowing so much money. And it also, when I hand it to my tax person, she's like, "Oh, let's write all this off." And then it's like, yay.
Yeah, I would say,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say expenses is probably my favorite one, because I am a list type of person. And if I keep it in my head, I've got a million things going on at one time. So once I'm able to, you can put pictures in the expensive, you can write it down. Once I can get something in the expenses and get it out of my head, and I know it's going to be there when I need to come back for it. That is probably my favorite. And I think another one is the analytics, I know we've been talking about it all night, but when you actually get into it and look at it and see, you can see this year, you can see last year. I think it's really helpful when you can look at what you did this time last year, what times of year are good for you, what times of year are not good for you. That way you can go into those times of year prepared with a plan. I can see if last year I needed to do more with retail. So this year I kind of was able to focus on, okay, last year I didn't do so hot in retail. What do I need to do this year? And then it shows you on the app, it shows you how many clients you have. And I feel like that's really important to see how many clients you have, because sometimes you don't actually know. And I really strongly suggest something that I do. After 2 months, I let my clients know 2 months. If I don't see you in 2 months, I delete you. Not to say that you can't get back on, but I need to see when I'm looking at my, reports, how many clients I have actively. I have some clients who may not come back for a wax in 5 months. So I've started doing that, deleting people off. And people don't want to be deleted off. So when I tell people, okay, you're going to be deleted off, they get their butts back in there. But it kind of helps me to see my numbers when I can see how many actual clients I have, what I need to do, things like that.
I was telling the girls earlier that today I was actually at the store making a business purchase, and then I was waiting for some food. I was getting a Juicy Lucy. If you haven't ever had one in Minnesota, it's a burger stuffed with all the cheese and pickles and everything inside the meat. And anyways, I haven't had one for a while, but I went and got that today, went in and made a purchase. And as I was coming back out from getting food, my receipt just blew away out of my purse, and I actually was able to go grab it. And I was like, was that, oh my gosh, because I'm trying to train myself to take pictures in my app immediately, because sometimes your receipt doesn't even make it home. And I mean, I did use my business checking card, so at the end of the day it's there, but to keep track of it like I'm trying to, or the right way, trying to train yourself to like immediately, when you get in the car, I'm about to start having the app ready while they're getting my total and add expense, new picture. As long as I take that picture from the app right away, then you can put your categories in. And like you mentioned, Britt, too, I feel a lot more organized, handing my tax lady, here you go. This is this, and this, was what I spent on lash products or brow products. And then now I can see that, hey, those tubes really lasted me 6 months. I ordered in February and I ordered in August. And, now we're doing good. Or why do I still have that product? Why haven't I used that up yet? How come I didn't use them chemical peels up? It should be gone, and I'm on my own butt about it. So feels like that helps, seeing where your money's going and making you confident to spend more on your expenses for your business.
I'm not kidding. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that was super motivating. Thank you so much. Britt, go ahead.
I'm not kidding, you all, and please hear me out. Have all your stuff printed and organized, because my tax lady was like, ooh, I can get this done in 15 minutes. I'm going to give you a discount. And I was like, bless you, ma'am. So have your stuff together, guys.
It is easy and simple when it's all there.
Yeah. I want a cheeseburger now. Thanks, Rachel.
Danny, you've been to Matt's bar?
Yeah, and now I will literally be recreating this in my kitchen after this call.
I went to a different one, but I have some there in Minneapolis. If you're in town, hit me up. We can go.
I definitely will. Wow, we touched on so much in that question. Thank you so much for sharing those features. It's amazing to know that GlossGenius is being used in such creative ways, not always the obvious ones. So I think I want to also highlight Yanni, who has just been blowing up this chat tonight, dropping knowledge and wisdom. This last recommendation from her, I think, is worth reading out loud. It's around highlighting your top clients and using GlossGenius to identify them. So she said, I give my top 3 clients a big post, a branded shirt, complimentary services. I even print the top 10 so that they can fight it out. Last December, they were booking random services to add just to lead as number 1. I think that's what you meant. So I love engaging with your clients, knowing who they are, and diving deeper into how you can be a better service provider, but also how they can treat you better as your clients. That's really powerful, and I think again gives you that sense of freedom and leadership. And I keep coming back to this idea of financial freedom and knowing exactly where you are. And like Britt said, maybe knowing where you're hemorrhaging, where you're excelling, so that, like Rachel mentioned, you can find out, why isn't this product running? Why do I still have this on the shelf? I think that's great. Those were all of my questions for each of you from my book. But if anybody else in the chat has anything, let me just check on over here in the question section. Barbette asks, is there a way to add a retail when you forget to add it? I too end up putting it as a consultation, but that takes too long. The background color in the app is so light for my eyes. Are they considering changing that? It's very difficult to read. Does anybody here want to answer if they have an experience that they'd like to share for Barbette?
So I think I'm understanding the question correctly. I have something in my services and I have it to where I can see it, but it's called a skincare pickup. And if I ever forget to add something on, I just go add a skincare pickup on to that person and check that out. And I have it as like $0. So I add on the products that I need and then just check them out. So when I go look back at their page, it's a skincare pickup and I know what they did versus miscellaneous.
Love that. Thank you. Rachel,
I would just take, and if you already had them in your system, because I just checked them out and then they say, oh, can I get this eye cream or something? Then I just quickly tap their name and quickly put them in for whatever time comes up. It doesn't really mess with my schedule. Just 15 minutes for consultation, and maybe it'll say that time, like right now. And even if I have someone else coming in, it doesn't disrupt my scheduling for right now. So I just quick check them out that way. And then I just make sure to tap on, like no gratuity because they just left me a tip and it's just the product or something. So I just say, oh, just do that. And then it's right there. So that doesn't bother me. It's not too bad. I think maybe what we're, as users of GlossGenius, saying, like, I wish there was maybe a portal, but I don't know what's coming. And I always kind of just have this confidence that GlossGenius it's been around, but they're still they're growing because of us. So I just feel, I don't know, I'm psychic here, but some little portal or something where we could just check. But it's so simple and it's so quick and easy that I just really can't even fathom complaining much more. I don't know, Barbette, what color. Maybe that's something on your own phone. I feel like the GlossGenius background is very dark, and I love that because I change my phone and Facebook and all of that to the dark theme.
Yeah, I'm on dark mode because I can't see.
There is an option too. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but if you go to checkouts, and in the top, there's like a little, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's like a little plus sign up there. You can just literally click on the plus sign and choose the client and add a service as well without having to create an appointment.
We learned so much. Thanks.
So the only thing with that, I like doing a skincare pickup. A lot of times when my clients want to get skincare, they're not present. So the only thing when you do that, GlossGenius, the card on file will not show up. If you do it that way, you'll have to have their card or their payment method present. So like if they're in front of you, you can re-put it in. But like if they're not in front of you, that's not going to be an option. It won't let you see what card they have saved.
So go to checkouts, press the plus sign,
Press the plus
and
sign.
then that's going to add right there. There's so much. You just have to play around. And I did like seeing in the chats that, some people didn't know that you can just quickly send. So if you don't have a Wi-Fi printer, get that as a business expense immediately. They're around like $140 at Best Buy. I can't believe I didn't have one for a long time. But that's just sending yourself those reports. I'm so glad to see that people are learning stuff, because we're all learning stuff and growing at the same time. So thanks, Aaliyah, for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and guys, if you're receiving products, like I am mostly affiliate links now, so just physical take-home product, mostly affiliate links now, so I don't have to deal with that. But when I have my stuff in, like, just go into your top bar where there's products and like please add in your inventory, because that's another huge thing to track, because some of us do have to pay state sales tax, and you do not want the state coming after you going, so you were selling all these products, where's our money? So that is another very important numbers to be looking at. You don't want to mess with state sales tax, because I had another client who's a business owner. They messed up a little. It was a very small mistake, and they got hit with a $200 fine. So be very careful with that kind of stuff.
I messed up myself, and because when I first started, I was kind of under the impression of you do state sales tax a different way or whatever. So I didn't do it monthly, and I got a letter in the mail, and they said I owed $25,000. No, I didn't actually owe $25,000, but when I called, they said because they don't know what you've sold, they kind of base it off of something. But I couldn't get them on the phone for like a week. So I'm crying, and I'm like, I'm just not even going to do this anymore. I'm going to quit. I'm going to go back and work somewhere else. But it's a scary experience that you don't even have to deal with. And then I also got hit with a fine because I still paid it late. So what she said, you want to do that?
I'm terrified of the IRS, and Tennessee state tax is so hard to deal with. And I'm like, here you go. I'm sorry, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to undo. And then also, like, as she was saying with that too, I do my inventory from home. I like to spend all my time at home now. So if you don't have your inventory in your app, it's kind of like sometimes I've gotten to the point where I've bought extra stuff that I didn't need and spent extra money because my inventory wasn't correct in my app. So now I make sure that what I have is really correct. So when I order, I'm not spending extra money because, I mean, it's a lot. Products are a lot. So
I feel like we could talk about this for hours, and I wish that we would have started off with this question, because I feel like everyone has their own, like, oh wait, but have you thought about this? And this is why we have a GlossGenius community, so that we can riff off of each other and share what we know, because you may be independent, but you're not alone, and you're definitely not the first person to go through this. And there's tons of opportunities for us to learn more and more from each other. So I want to say thank you to everyone that has been a part of tonight. I want to be respectful of time. Can the panelists give me like a thumbs up? Do you have like another few minutes, so that in case people have more questions? Okay, great.
It's my night off.
Okay, great. I want to be respectful. I only asked for.
My son's on spring break, so he's going to be up till 3 a.m. anyway.
Okay, great. Let's do this. And if you're not on the call, you'll see the recording. Thank you. Like, I just want to close this out and say this has been such a special conversation, and like, just it's amazing to break through that barrier, and it's amazing to hear each of you, even through tonight, like, grow a little. Like Rachel saying, like, oh, I know I'm not now gonna like raise my prices, or Aaliyah knowing that like now you are gonna set some boundaries, and Britt, I feel like it seems to me like you know everything. No, I'm not. I'm totally kidding. I just think that what you shared tonight was actually really, really valuable wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing your learnings. It sounds to me you've done a lot of the hard work. So thank you for sharing those details.
Thank you so much for having us, Danny.
Yeah, this was an absolute blast.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Have a lovely evening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good
That was
night.
so fun. Have a good night, everyone.
And you too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.